3, 2, and 1. And we are live at it. And we are live. All right. So, hello everyone. Hello guys. Good afternoon. So we will continue where we left off today. We are at arrays with multiple data types. And for this exercise, we will create an array that describes yourself. Use 3 primitive data types that you have learned. So string, numbers, and boolean. We will continue.
Composed by its items if you need it to make semantically sense. And you'll often hear this also referred to as complex data types. That is arrays and also, for example, objects, which you are going to learn about later. They stand in contrast to the primitive data types you have worked with up until now. The 3 primitives you have learned are strings, numbers, and booleans, because they are more primitive than arrays. They are not composed of many other data types, which arrays often are. So one analogy you can use is that the primitive data types are the Lego blocks, whereas the array, the composite data types, kind of like the full Lego model, for example, after you've built a little house with your Lego blocks. But anyway, you shouldn't worry too much about this if you find it a little bit abstract and complex. As a developer, you don't go around thinking about, oh, is this a primitive data type or a complex data type? It just becomes second nature and you don't even think about it. So you shouldn't be put off by this, even though it's a little bit theoretical. Instead, I think you should just practice. Now I want you to create an array that describes yourself and use all the 3 primitive data types that you've learned so far. So it should contain your name.
Name and then okay, so it can contain, let's call myself. Do we have to open? I think we have to do this, right? If I remember not wrong. Array. I forgot this. Array in JS. Yeah, equal. Yeah, it need to be equal. And then it's going to be it should contain your name, age. So like this, tone, and then comma, and then this, numbers, right? It's 22, and then commas, boolean, if you like. Sure, I do like pizza. Can it be like this? Let me save it and compare. I think I'd have to declare name equal, age equal, and then pizza equal.
Your age? I know that a lot of you don't agree with me, so let's not get into a discussion about that. Let's just leave it. And I especially like pizza with pineapple.
I do like that too. Pizza, pineapple on pizza, pretty good. A lot of people hate it, but I like it. Yeah, if you don't like pineapple on pizza, oh man, you're missing out. You're closing yourself too much. You have to open up to new things. Pineapple on pizza is actually elite. It's actually really good. Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
It's the best. So I just move on with the course.
Yeah, so I was right. I was right. I don't have to declare anything.
One of the most common operations you'll perform on a race is adding items to the end of it. That's, for example, what you want to do in our blackjack game, where you start with 2 cards and then you want to draw a new card. That'll naturally then be put at the end of the array, for example, 6. However, the way to do that is not through actually changing it directly, which I did now. You use a method, which is called push, which allows you to, well, push things into the array. So you do cards, dot, push, and then open and close parentheses. And inside of these parentheses, you place whatever you want to push. So for example, 6, we now console log the cards underneath our push operation. You can see we
push, so we add 1 to the end of it, push, in JavaScript. Actually, I learned a lot studying on my own than going to school. Yeah, it's way better. You can learn on your own pace, and I usually learn with like really fast pace. Way better than like studying at school. Like at first at school it's like, oh yeah, you have like 1/3 of a semester, you like basically chilling, you learn what you like is logically, you know it logically, and then all of a sudden you become like slack off, and then you miss out on important things because you're slacking off, and you basically forget, or like you're not focused. That's why, and then you basically falling off. That's what I don't really like to study at school. I like to study on my own. Like I run it really fast, and then I focus at home way better in a silent place instead of a classroom. Classroom is pretty nice, but like other than like where you have friends and stuff like that, and like a teacher you can talk to, other than that, like the curriculum in school is pretty ass. Not gonna lie, it's pretty ass. Right. So yeah, let's go to push.
Added 6 to the array. So this here is actually called a method, which is just a fancy way of saying a function on an object. And you haven't really learned about objects yet, so don't worry about if you think this sounds a little bit abstract. But this operation here is pretty similar as we console.log, then passing in, for example, hello. Don't you think? We have the first object, cards or console. Then we have the methods, either log or push. Then we have whatever we pass into these methods when we call them. So this here, cards push, is conceptually very similar to what you've been doing all along. Let's now make sure that you build muscle memory on this by solving a challenge.
I have to understand push first. So push, add new item to the end of it. It's not pushing. So you have a string here. Basically, it's like a normal way of pushing. You just add 1 at the beginning. But here, push is basically add things at the end of an array. So if you have banana, orange, apple, mango, and then you want to push kiwi in, you put it at the end of it. At the end of it. Let's see if you push 2 kiwi lemons. Yeah. Okay. Now I see. Now I see. Because if you think of a push like normal logic, you would be wrong here. But push supposed to be at the end. Just remember it, push at the end. Just boop, pick it, push it, grab something, and then put it at the end. So yeah. Alright, so let's continue. Push the new message to the message array and then log out the array. Alright, so what is it again? What did he do? Message. Messages dot push. Open bracket and then you put in the new message. And then you console log the message. Right, let's run it. Hey, how you doing? Same here. Yeah, you have same here, right here. Oh, okay. So you want to take an array and then dot push. So you want to add something at the end of that array. Oh, pretty smart. JavaScript is smart, I'm telling you. Is it a function that can only work in an array? It possibly is. It's only work in a list. Yes. Alright. Okay, we note this down.
So I want you to imagine that you are building a chat application. For example, the one I showed you here on LinkedIn, and the data structure we'll use is of course arrays, and we'll pretend that each of these messages is an item in the array. So when someone types in a new message and sends it, well, you want to push that new message to the array. So here you are to push the new message variable, that's this one down here, into the messages array. That's this one here.
That's pretty cool.
And then you are to log out the array to just verify that you actually succeeded in pushing the item. Go ahead and do that right now, and then I will show you the solution afterwards as well.
I did it.
And so we have to find the answer again, and run
Pop.
remove the array here. You wanted to remove it from the messages array. How can you do that? You haven't learned this yet? This is a golden opportunity for you. Google it out and try to figure out how can you remove the last
Push
item
pop.
in an array.
Mm.
So just see if you can find the answer on Google and then try to remove the last item of the messages array here on line 18. Go ahead and do that right now.
Opposite push pop.
Okay, maybe that worked, maybe not. If
Oh
not,
my god, my
no.
computer is running out of resource. Is it going to be the last item? Last element. So pop, fruit pop. It's going to pop mango out. Yep. So is this the opposite of push? We have pop, push and pop.
No worries at all. This is just a bonus. What you do is you messages dot pop and then open and close parentheses. Now log the messages again and run the code. Open up the console. You can see we are logging two versions of this array. One from line 15 where the same here string is included as the last item, and once again from line 19 where the array is back to how it originally was, like this. So pop is kind of the opposite of push and not as commonly used, but I just wanted to give you a sneak peek at it, as you might come across it here and there in your development journey. With that, let's move on. Okay, now it's time for some repetition. You are going to do the exact same thing as I did before we had our little arrays dive. So you're first going to create a new array, cards, that contain the first card and the second card. And then in the render game, you are going to change line 18 so that it refers to the cards array when rendering them out. So not referring to first card and second card this way, but doing it via our freshly created cards array. So go ahead and do this right now.
Alright, so we want to create an array. array. Dun. Let cart equal this, and then you call it first card. Push commas. Okay, second card. Right. And then here you want to render cards. Not blah blah blah. Cards. Yeah. That's it, right? Let's run this. Start game. Plus cards. Run this. Start game. There we go, baby. There we go. Save this note.
Card as the first item in the array and the second card as the second item. And as you hopefully remember, and yes, indeed, it works. Creatures as the first item in the array and the second card. As the second item. Remember, we can now refer to these values by doing cards 0 and cards 1, like that. We'll run the code, click start game, and yes.
Okay, it is actually better because later on you're going to have a third card, and then this gonna get confused because oh, all right. This actually makes sense. Because here, if you have cards here, and then you don't specify, and you just take the whole of it, all of this, and then you go here, and then you put, oh, this is card. And then you just put new card, so like it's going to be a new array. It's going to be card plus cards and then card. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but like it actually makes sense. The more specific the code is, this is better. Yeah. You want to put the other way is not wrong, but it's going to be harder for you to do. Yeah, it's the same.
Oh, let's move on.
Right.
Now that we have the first card and the second card in the cards array, we also have to, of course, add the new card to the cards array. So, quick little challenge. After this card has been created and it has been...
Oh yeah, that's why. Because later on you're going to push this in. If you run a game, oh, okay, and then you push another card. It's still the same. Oh. No, it's actually not the same. Wait, let me just cards dot push this is going to be card Yeah, and then we going to do card l.innerText equal this. Well, you click new card and then you push it into here, because now it's going to give an array. Yeah, let's try it. And then card 2. Let's run, try it. Renders. Card.push card. Cards.push card. Why is it doesn't display? Maybe because I override this. But once you click new cards, it's supposed to print out the new cards, no? Ooh la la. Yeah, let's just skip this part.
Added to the sum, we also need to push the cards array.
So the sum of the card is equal to sum of all of this plus the card plus 6. So sum is already here. Yeah, just
Go ahead
basic
and do this
stuff.
right now.
Right. I think someone just opened my dollhouse. Like, yep.
Do this is by writing cards dot push, open and close parentheses, then pass in the newly created card like that. And in order to verify that this actually works, we can on the next line console log out the cards array like that. Let's run this again. Start game, hit new card, and there.
Huh? Sao? Hết rồi vậy. Console dot log cards. Ooh la la. Yeah, I was right.
Here we can see in the console now the cards array has been logged out with all the 3 cards, 10, 4, and 6. So we still aren't rendering out the third card.
Yeah, exactly. I cannot do this.
To achieve that, you have to learn how to count in JavaScript. Or strictly speaking, you have to learn how to write for loops. So over the next few casts, we are going to take a deep dive into
For loops.
and then later return back to the blackjack game so that we can fix it up. Let's move on.
We need a for loops. Why would you need a for loops? Oh la la. Now I need to learn how to count. Okay. Start counting. Wait, I think there's something wrong.
Okay, so now you're going to learn how to count with JavaScript. That might sound really silly. I mean, counting is so easy. If you ask a human to count, for example, if you say, "Pear, count to 10, I would go, yeah, sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. However, JavaScript is like that annoying person who then replies and said, well, where exactly do you want me to start counting? By counting to 10, do you mean including 10, or should I stop before 10? And also, should I count every single number, or do you want me to, for example, only count the odd numbers or the even numbers or whatever? So JavaScript is really like that annoying person that takes everything you say 100% literal. So when you ask JavaScript to count, we have to be super specific. We need to specify where we start counting, where the finish line is and what the step size is. Here I've already written the code
Step row?
for you, so let's just
Step size.
We start with the for keyword.
For.
That's because this is a so-called for loop.
And
Don't
then
worry about that. Let's now look at the things that are inside of the parentheses here. Here you can see our starting condition. Let count equals 1. So we're going to start our count at 1. Then we have a semicolon. Then we specify our finish condition, where it says count is less than 11. So we want count to always be less than 11. So maximum 10, in other words. We're never going to count over this number. And finally, the step size is that for each counting, you're going to increment with 1. So count plus equals 1. Now, these three conditions together describe to
It's the
JavaScript
loops.
how many times we want to run the code inside of the curly brackets and what the value of count will be every single
It's a for
iteration.
loops.
So here we are going to run this code 10 times, and the variable count will change its value in every single iteration, starting at 1 and going up to 10, jumping one number at a time. So we will count to 10. Let's run this code. And there you can see in the console, we get the numbers from 1 and up to 10. If we now change this here to 2, what do you think will happen? Well then, we get 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Because we still start at 1, we're going to end before 11, so maximum 10. We're going to jump with 2. So in the first iteration, count equals to 1. It's what we said we wanted to start with. Then in the second iteration, we've told JavaScript that we want to increase by 2 every single time. So then it's 3, and then it's 5, and then it's 7, and then it's 9. And then at the last iteration, like, okay, now I'm going to be 11. But that doesn't work. That violates our finish condition here. So JavaScript stops the loop where that happens, and then continues on with whatever it has to do underneath the loop. So let's take this back to 1. Can you modify this one so that it counts from 1 to 20? How would you do that?
Oh, easy. Change the 21. Easy.
Hopefully you identified that what you want to change is the finish condition and set that to less than 220. Go ahead and try that right now. Ends before 21, counts 1 at a time. We run the code. To 20 logged out to the console. Now, let's move on to the next cast.
Like, this is why I like to study online. Like, you can skip to the part that you already know, right? Sometimes it's not the best, but like most of the time you can. So I know this. Skip.
Okay, let's first walk through how to create a loop from scratch, and then I want you to create your own loop, or at least try according to the specifications
Create a loop.
here on line 3 and 4. But to begin with, we'll create a loop that counts from 0 to 5. So to do that, we'll do 4. Put in close parentheses, and inside of the parentheses we have to define our starting point, our finish line, and how big our steps will be. This is done through a counter variable, so we could do let count equals 0 and then semicolon to end starting statement, because 0 is where we want to start. However, whereas count is a very semantically good word for this variable, a common convention in JavaScript is to use the letter I instead. Could have named it whatever we want, and you can use count if you think that's easier, but I'm going to use I from now on. Then there's the finish line, which we also need to define. We want to count to 5, so I should be less than 6. Then semicolon again. So this defines that I should always be less than 6, and obviously then the last point where it will stop when counting upwards is 5. And then finally we have to define how big our steps should be. I'm going to do I plus equals 1. Here we don't have to use a semicolon, and because this is the last condition. Actually, I can space it out a little bit. We follow the same structure for all of our conditions. And then the open and close square brackets for the body of our for loop. Then inside of here, we'll do console.log I from the code. And we can see.
Alright, so we for let count equal to 10. Count is less than 101. Count is plus equal. Hmm.
0, 1, 2, 3.
พอก่อนมา
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good.
ดู
Okay, now that you've seen this, I want you to try to create a for loop that counts from 10 log when you have the less than set. Run the code.
For loops an array.
Okay, now you're going to experience how powerful for loops are when combining them with arrays. Because let's say that we are building a chat application, like the one that LinkedIn has, which I showed you earlier. And these messages might just well be items in arrays. Let's just pretend that each of these messages are exactly that, and ignore all the metadata around the messages, like the time and the profile picture and name and stuff like that, and just pretend that we have the data structure which contains a bunch of messages inside of an array. Basically, just we have here the exact same array we've worked with earlier as well. Now, pretend that this is a console-based array, so everything basically need to do is log out these messages to the console. But in order to do that, we can't just console log out messages, because then we'll just get a long array, and that's not what we want. We want each of the messages on its own line and not with the square bracket and stuff like that around. So the hard way to do this is by doing like this. Message 1, messages 2, messages 3. Like to take index from 0 to 3 and log all of them out. There we go. Now we have what looks like a chat in the console. But this is a really bad way of doing it. We are repeating ourselves again and again, and that's a general anti-pattern. There's something called DRY for don't repeat yourself. Don't write more code than you need to, especially not if you're just repeating the same code. And also, this doesn't scale, because if I add now at the end of the array, run the code, I'm not logging out the last one. I have to manually update my code. So what we instead want to do is combine this array with a for loop. Now let's comment out this. And
Let me see. And then what we can do is console log this. We're just trying all of this. Console log message. Unknown token. Không mà.
Or let I equals 0, semicolon. Then we want I to stop before it reaches 5. Then we want I to increment by 1 at every single iteration. Now inside of this for loop, we log the value of I, the console that we get from 0 to 4. And that actually resembles quite a lot what we did here. However, we've even added the index of the latest item as well. So how about we, instead of just logging out
message,
I, simply do
square
messages,
bracket,
square brackets, close square brackets. Use the I as the...
Alright, we will do this for muscle memory. Let's plus I equal 0 dash I less than 5 less than 5, and then I plus equal 1. Curly brackets, console log message, square bracket 1, square bracket I, and then we run this. Read to you. Pretty smart.
Index. Then run the code, and boom, there we go. We have all of the items logged out in order, one after another. Brilliant. However, there's still a little problem here, that if I add yet another message here, maybe an emoji, and I run the code, the emoji isn't logged to the console. Then I have to change this to 6 again, so it's still not fully dynamic. However, I have a trick, because how can I get a hold of the number 6 in a dynamic way? Well, you might remember
Message.
that arrays has a property which is called length. And that will refer to the actual length of the array. If we use that, we can be sure that our loop counts up to the final index, all the way up to the end of the array. Now run the code. Yes, there we have all of our messages, regardless of how long the messages array is. So this was a lot of typing from my end though. So let's move on to a challenge so that you get to practice this as well.
Create a for loops that log out all the card in the array. Use card length to specify how long the loops should run. Alright, so for.
Okay.
No, I want to do it on my own. For cards equal 0 for I equals 0, and then we do this. I should be equal to cards dot length, right? And then I should be plus equal 1, right? And then we do this console log. And then we put in cards. Aye, captains. Oh, forgot this. What happened? Oh boy. Computer? Hello, computer? Oh man. What happened to my computer? Wow. All right. We write it again then. We write it again for let I equal 0. We do this. I is equal to cut dot length. And then we console log this as cut I, right? What? Hardware malfunction. Should not be equal to 0. It's equal to cut length. Yeah. Alright, I will end the stream here. Looking like we have a